we've had those same customers for many, many years, and I just know what they need, how they use it, which customers wait till the last minute. I know which customers are very good at keeping ahead of their maintenance schedule. I kind of know what I have to keep on hand and what I don't really need to. When you're kind of getting into it, you kind of want to keep everything on hand so you can satisfy your customer immediately, but there's a lot of variables in that. And if you're sitting on it for a long time, it's basically dead inventory and cash you don't have on hand then.
You're listening to Stories from the Top, an inside guide to better business development. So we are back again with Ezra from Filter Recon. Ezra, for people who don't know who Filter Recon is, just give us a little bit of a background.
Oh, well, I'm a third generation owner of family business, and we are a filtration supplier, distributor, retailer for industrial filtration products. I said anything from water filter under your kitchen sink to a rooftop unit on mall buildings here and everything in between.
So I just want to dive into some of the financial decisions you guys made over the years to go from like 10,000 to 30,000, you were saying in year one, back in the 80s with your grandfather, all the way to over 2 million now. You guys made a lot of choices along the way to get there. Obviously, it has to be very intentional to grow. And so let's dive into some of those moves. What were some of the big moments in the development of your business that led to that revenue growth?
Well, early on, I can't speak to that too much because I was just a kid. But I said my grandfather started very small, as most small businesses do. They got to start somewhere with 1, 2, 3 handful of customers. Started with a pickup truck and a trailer, hauling and delivering things and picking things up that way. And my dad took over and grew a little bit, bought a slightly bigger truck, slightly bigger trailer. Expanded a little bit where they were, not too much. Started in a barn, my great-grandfather's barn is where they started. And then my dad, we finally had a need for more space, so rented his first space just down the road, actually, in Spring City, the other end of Spring City, and started to grow there. What we were doing dollars-wise at the time when I came on, I would have to guess probably between 200,000 and 400,000 is my best guess, and that was all from reconditioning filters and selling new filters, mainly for construction equipment, over-the-road trucks and vehicles like that.
That was at the point you came into a leadership role?
Yeah, so I came on full-time after I graduated high school in 2004, and we were doing about those dollars in there. And it was enough to sustain a paycheck for my dad, sustain a paycheck for myself, and we had one other employee at the time who actually, he washed all the filters. That was his job all day long, was to wash filters. He didn't cost very much because it was a very easy job, if you will. It wasn't fun. It wasn't exciting at all. He was basically washing filters all day. And so there was just 3 of us that we had to support. So within that dollar range, and very little overhead outside of, insurance and fuel and building costs, it was sustainable that way. But there came times where margins started to shrink because competition would come in and would start to compete against us selling new filters close to the price that we were selling reconditioned filters for. And obviously most people are going to opt to buy a newer product over a remanufactured or reconditioned product typically. And that was about the same time in those mid-2000s that we had starting to have these conversations with this sales guy who was in the industrial sector. And so that was an opportunity we foresaw that said if we really wanted to grow and maybe push this thing to the next level, that we need to pursue this. And
So
go out.
hiring that sales guy was a big turning point.
It was a big turning point for us.
What percentage of your sales would you say came through that channel of the sales guy?
Starting out, as I mentioned in the last episode, he had a non-compete for a year, so the first year was tough. There wasn't a whole lot of additional volume there. The first year was good as far as learning for my dad and myself, because that was a new sector for us. It gave us time to learn the product, to learn the customers, and kind of prepare ourselves to what he was going to bring in, the type of product and the volume. So within that first year, I'm not even sure, but within the next couple years, I would say by 2010, 2012, we were probably getting close to 900,000, almost approaching 1 million. He had just that big a book of business from his old company that he
Within
brought.
a couple years.
Yeah, within a couple years, we almost doubled what we did, while maintaining still the cleaning service, reconditioning, and the other sectors we serviced.
And you were telling me that you don't even clean filters anymore, right? You dropped that service.
That's correct.
So tell me about that. Why did you decide to drop that service?
Yeah, so we made a move in 2020. We found this property over in Glenmore, and we pulled the trigger on it. It was a great deal, and it was at that time we were kind of on the fence, where we had the guy that had washed filters for us was coming to retirement age. He had done it for 25 plus years. He worked for my dad. And so he was coming to retirement age. So we were kind of like, well, what do we do with him? If we get rid of this, cleaning filters, and well, we can keep him around and do some other odd jobs, this and that. But it was really that, and then also the township. We had to get conditional use to bring a business into the township there where we were at, and that was one of their stipulations where they said, we don't want you to continue this service.
Did he make it to retirement?
He did, yeah. He's retired. He's doing some other things now, but yes, he's essentially retired.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So you cut that out because your other side had grown, right? Just selling new filters became the new main thing. And do you guys have like a lot of inventory that you would keep in stock for these new filters?
Yeah, we've always had to keep inventory on hand. I said part of our service when we were reconditioning filters was if the reconditioned filter wasn't approved or didn't pass our inspection quality, we could replace it with a new one. So we'd try to keep things on hand of those filters for those particular customers. If it didn't clean out, here, we'll give you a new one for now, and then you complete that cycle. So we've always had some type of inventory, but bringing on new customers, different customers, bigger customers, we had to really ramp up our inventory. So that has steadily increased over the years to what it is now. So we have a 5,000 square foot warehouse now and an old barn that houses quite a bit of inventory for us.
And so how do you go about gaining new inventory? Did you leverage debt, or did you build up your cash reserves to start?
Yeah, we did take out a few loans. We had a line of credit at the bank. But inventory, I was always very careful. That was kind of my job, at the discretion of my sales guy as we sort of started, because I said that this sector was new to me, so I was still learning a lot about the particular filtration products we were selling. And he knew his customers' usage as well. So I relied pretty heavily on him in the beginning to tell me what I should bring in, how much I should bring in, how often they might be changing these filters out. So that all encapsulates what you should keep on hand in inventory.
So he was hearing directly from the clients, and you were like trusting your sales team to notify you of what you needed in inventory.
That's correct. So over the years, yeah, it's kind of changed that way. And we've had those same customers for many, many years, and I just know what they need, how they use it. Which customers are terrible at ordering on time, wait till the last minute. I know which customers are very good at keeping ahead of their maintenance schedule. So I bring all that into my inventory ordering when I bring things in.
Now, do you still rely on your line of credit for those type of purchases, or are you now like, have you built up cash reserves?
Within the past 2 years, we haven't needed to use a line of credit to purchase any inventory. It's all been on cash flow and reserves. So that's been a great spot to be at. And again, I've got a pretty good system down myself where I kind of know what I have to keep on hand and what I don't really need to. When you're kind of getting into it, you kind of want to keep everything on hand so you can satisfy your customer immediately. But there's a lot of variables in that. And if you're sitting on it for a long time, it's basically dead inventory and cash you don't have on hand then. So until your customer buys it.
So if it's not moving quickly, then you probably don't want to keep it in.
Yeah, I said most of our vendors give us 30 to 45 days to pay back, which is pretty normal in most industries. So if it sits longer than that, obviously you've got to pay the person that provided it to you, and you're sitting there waiting to sell to your customer, and then your customer waits 30 days to pay you. So you might be out money for 60, 90, 120 days, depending on that particular turnaround.
And then the other thing that I thought was really interesting you were telling me about is your acquisitions that you made. So you talked about 2 different acquisitions. Why don't you tell me about how that all went down?
Yeah, so in 2021, we had our first opportunity to buy a company called Oaks Industrial Supply, owned by, we'll call him a boomer, an older gentleman. And he was a mutual friend with our current sales guy, so they kind of made a connection. We had a relationship with him, and he was looking to get out. He had a business. They said he was looking to retire, didn't really want to do it anymore. And he just kind of came to us with a number, and we looked at his books, looked at his customer list, his inventory list, past couple years of financials, and we just kind of like, this is a pretty good deal. And it was a business that was virtually identical to ours. So looking at that, we're basically, all we're doing is absorbing volume and virtually no overhead, which is a no-brainer in my opinion to do that. I didn't have to change a thing. All I did was just add to my name list and my customer base. And I supplied more work to my driver and, myself. And so it was a win-win-win.
Ideal acquisition. But, so he was like a solo entrepreneur, his business?
He was a solo entrepreneur. He had a part-time helper and a part-time bookkeeper even. So he basically did everything himself. And he said he was just looking to get out. And he actually stayed on for a year and a half as a sales guy for us for the customers he had, because he just kind of wanted something to do. So we offered him the same thing we did with our sales guy. I said, we'll do a 50-50 split, 100% commission, until you're ready to retire, and then we'll just take it all in house. So that worked out really well. That made that transition very easy for us, because he obviously had a relationship with those customers already, and he was able to just slowly kind of introduce me to them, and I was able to take over those reins as he kind of phased himself out. So it really was ideal for our first business acquisition. It couldn't have gone really any smoother.
And that was really interesting too, because like his revenue was larger than the purchase price, like his annual revenue, right?
Yes.
So it's kind of like a no-brainer for the purchase of that. But it kind of brings me back to the idea that you were saying, like, you want to build this business in such a way that you could take a day off if you needed to, and the business would continue to run itself. But I do think that that's not only valuable for your mental health, it's valuable for the business itself. Because when it comes time to sell the business, if you don't have a turnkey business that you can offer to somebody else to purchase, then the value of the business goes way down. So this guy had to sell his business for probably much less than if it had been a completely turnkey business that any business owner could just operate. So that really makes it's not only just like about taking a day off. It's like your duty to the care of the business to make it the best it can be. It has to be able to run without you, really.
Yep. Yeah, that's very true. Yeah, and I've said that many times that, I see how long those guys worked in their businesses, and in the end we gave him 100,000 some odd dollars for it for 30 plus years of work. He obviously made a living, it sustained his lifestyle and what he wanted to do, but he worked 30 years for $100,000 essentially.
Right.
Well,
it was a business that couldn't be run by anyone except someone who already knew how to run a filter business.
That's right. Yeah.
So then what would be the advice that you'd give to somebody who is building a business and thinks they one day might want to sell it?
Yeah, so I've thought about that. Do I want to build this business to the point of sale, or am I doing the same thing, kind of just trying to sustain myself to a point where I make enough money, put enough cash in the bank, and then ride off and just do something completely different, which was probably going to be the case at some point. But yeah, I mean,
fourth generation.
Fourth generation. Yeah, I've thought about that, but my son's far too smart to do what I'm doing currently. He has way better aspirations than I ever did. He wants to be a pilot. As an aside, he wants to fly planes. I said, pursue that if you love that. That's way cooler than filters, I'm telling you. So, but if kids ever want to get into it, I would certainly provide a space for them, for the opportunity. But that being said, as I build my business, I'm trying to create processes and put things in place where I can just hand it over to somebody else, put it on paper, put it in my CRM, make it as easy as possible for almost anybody to step into it and just kind of take over and run it for a little while. I do have my brother-in-law that works with me there. I'm trying to train him up to kind of do what I'm doing in that capacity, but I'm still thinking ahead. Yeah.
Well, Ezra, thanks so much for coming on the show again, and always a pleasure to have you.
Sure.
And you take care.
Okay.
Stories from the Top is your guide to successful business development. Subscribe wherever you get your podcasts or find Edge of Cinema on YouTube. Stories from the Top is an Edge of Cinema production, hosted by Matthew Skura and Jeremy Schmidt. To learn more or get in touch, visit edgeofcinema.com/podcast.